The rain fell in thin silver lines outside the small diner, blurring the city lights into a soft glow. Inside, a man in an expensive suit sat alone, staring at his phone, unaware that his entire future was about to change because of a single, quiet act of kindness. He thought this was just another stop. Just another coffee. Just another forgettable moment before signing a deal worth $50 million. But sometimes, the smallest moments carry the biggest consequences. Before we begin, if you enjoy heartfelt stories that remind us of the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Story of Pure Kindness, where small acts change lives in big ways. The man's name was Daniel Carter. To the world, he was a billionaire tech investor, known for sharp instincts and even sharper negotiations. To most people, he seemed untouchable. That morning, Daniel was on his way to close one of the biggest deals of his career. A $50 million partnership that would expand his company nationwide. But before heading to the high-rise office downtown, Daniel asked his driver to stop at a small diner on the edge of the city. He liked quiet places before big decisions. Somewhere no one recognized him. Somewhere simple. The diner smelled of fresh coffee and warm toast. The floors were old but clean, the booths slightly worn. Behind the counter stood a young waitress named Lily. She couldn't have been more than 25. She wore a simple uniform and had tired eyes, the kind that came from working long hours but still caring about the people in front of her. Daniel sat at a booth by the window and ordered coffee and eggs. Lily smiled politely, wrote it down, and walked away. While waiting, Daniel reviewed documents on his phone. The deal contract had been finalized the night before. His legal team had gone through it carefully. Everything looked perfect, or so he thought. When Lily returned with his coffee, she noticed the papers spread across the table. She didn't mean to look, but one page caught her attention. She froze for a second, her hand tightening around the coffee pot. "I'm sorry, sir," she said softly. "I don't mean to bother you." Daniel barely looked up. "It's fine." Lily hesitated. Her heart started racing. She had no right to say anything. He was clearly important, powerful, the kind of man who might get angry over interruptions. But something inside her wouldn't let it go. "I might be wrong," she said carefully, "but I think there's a tiny error on that page." Daniel frowned and finally looked up at her. "Excuse me," she pointed gently at the document. "That number. It looks like the decimal is in the wrong place." Daniel's expression hardened. "My lawyers prepared this." "I understand," Lily said quickly, her cheeks turning red. "I'm really sorry. My dad used to work in accounting. I've seen mistakes like that before." For a moment, the diner felt silent. Daniel stared at the page. Then he waved her off. "Thank you. That will be all." Lily nodded, embarrassed, and walked back to the counter. Her hands were shaking. She felt foolish. Who was she to question a billionaire's paperwork? Daniel took another sip of coffee, irritated. Still, her words lingered. Against his better judgment, he zoomed in on the number. His heart skipped. She was right. The decimal point was off by one place. A tiny error, almost invisible, but if left unchanged, it would give the other company control over a major revenue stream. $50 million on paper could turn into hundreds of millions lost over time. Daniel's pulse quickened. He called his lawyer immediately. "Stop everything," he said. "We're not signing today." Within minutes, the deal was cancelled. Daniel leaned back, in the booth, staring at the ceiling. If Lily hadn't spoken up, he would have signed the contract without a second thought. One careless moment, one overlooked detail, his empire could have crumbled. He looked toward the counter. Lily was wiping down tables, her face still tight with worry. When Daniel went to pay, he left a generous tip. But that wasn't enough. He asked to speak to her. "I owe you an apology," he said. Lily looked confused. "For what?" "For brushing you off," he replied. "You saved me from a very bad decision." Her eyes widened. "I did." "Yes," he said simply. "You were right. That small mistake would have cost me everything." Lily swallowed. "I'm glad I said something." Daniel studied her for a moment. "Why did you?" She shrugged. "Because it was the right thing to do. Even if you didn't want to hear it." Daniel smiled. A real smile, not the practiced one he used in boardrooms. That should have been the end of it. A thank you. A handshake. A story Daniel might tell someday. But kindness has a way of echoing. Later that week, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Lily. He thought about how many times people had stayed silent around him because of his status. How many mistakes went unchallenged because no one wanted to risk speaking up. He returned to the diner. This time, he came with an offer. Daniel learned that Lily was working 2 jobs to pay off student loans. She had dropped out of college when her mother got sick. She dreamed of finishing her degree, but life kept getting in the way. Daniel offered to pay off her loans and fund her education. Lily cried right there at the counter. "I don't know how to thank you," she said through tears. Daniel shook his head. "You already did." News of the cancelled deal never made headlines. No one knew the real reason. But inside Daniel, something had shifted. He started listening more, slowing down, treating people not as titles, but as humans. Lily went back to school. Years later, she graduated with honors. She became a financial analyst, helping small businesses avoid the same kinds of mistakes she once spotted in a diner. And Daniel, he still made deals, still ran companies, but he never forgot the waitress who dared to speak up. All because of a tiny error. And a big heart. In a world that often rewards power and silence, kindness still has the loudest voice. Sometimes it looks like courage. Sometimes it looks like a simple warning. And sometimes, it changes everything. As you go about your day, remember this story. Speak up when it matters. Be kind, even when it's uncomfortable. You never know whose life you might change, or whose world you might save. And that's the true story of pure kindness.